Hi, everyone. I'm going to turn my light here. Thank you so much for being here today. I am so excited to meet all of you. My name is Hanah Lim, and I'm here with College Essay Guy. And I am going to share the Pear Deck screen right now. So in the chat, I put in the code for the Pear Deck. So go ahead and get logged in for me. I promise it will make this actually more fun if you get logged in. If you're watching this as a recording, this is a unique code for the live session, so you don't have to log in. But there is a workbook that you can also join. And I'm going to ask you to go ahead and access this workbook right here. If you're watching the recording, you will get a link to this. Instead of asking for access, go ahead and just make a copy. And so you just go to File and make a copy. Okay. So go ahead and do that right now. I see a bunch of different icons on there. And so go to File, make a copy. Okay. All right. So we have about 37 attendees and about 20 people connected. So go ahead and get connected right now. You can also go to joinpd.com and then put in this code. You don't have to use the link that I put into the chat, but I'm going to do that too. Let me try to the code in again. I see more people are joining the workbook, which is great because we're going to need both of those for today. Okay. All right, so there's the Pear Deck code one more time. So I promise you it'll be even better if you're all joined in on the Pear Deck because it's actually, this is not going to be just me talking at you, but it's going to be more like a conversation, okay? And so let's get started. All right, so today we're here to talk about tips for the college essay. And honestly, I feel like this is the coolest part of the whole college application process because it's about you. And I remember when I was in high school, I didn't really know who I was yet. And yet colleges are asking you for a personal statement. And honestly, I didn't really know who I was until maybe into my 20s, right? And so if you don't know who you are yet, that's totally okay. That's actually what this is going to be for, right? And so actually, if you're on your phone, you can still join the Pear Deck and you can still actually type in. It's actually really cool. So there will be a button if you don't see it where it's going to say answer question or something like that, okay? All right, so let's get started. So as I mentioned, it's an interactive slideshow. And so the question is right now, how confident do you feel about starting your college essay? Okay, so you have this little blue dot. All you need to do is just drag it. Okay, some of you might be like, I haven't even thought about it. That's totally okay. Go ahead and just move your blue dot. Maybe some of you have written drafts already. It's up to you. Okay. All right. Okay. So we have about 24 to 26 people responding. That's awesome. We do have about 40 people in attendance. So I promise it'll be, like I said, more fun if you can join in. And it's not too late. It's never too late to join. You just go to joinpd.com and then put in the code up here. Okay. So I'm going to lock the screen in 3, 2, 1, and I'm going to show the responses here in the Zoom window. Okay. So if you take a look, there are a couple of people who are actually very confident. And then there's a lot of people in the middle and some all the way on the right, which is very, very normal. Okay. And so thank you so much for your participation with that. All right, let's move on to the next part. So the next part are basically just brief agreements. I know that when I was so I'm a former high school teacher, and one of the things was if my camera didn't have to be on, I was definitely doing other things during even teacher trainings and stuff. So I'm just going to ask that you're fully present today to participate fully, because actually we can actually move on to the next slide faster if people respond in the Pear Deck quick, and people responded so quickly in those last ones. So thank you so much. Another thing is to avoid multitasking. I like to say that I'm a really good multitasker, but I even had to do these research studies with my students about how people are actually not built to multitask. What we do is we switch tasks. So we turn our attention to something else and we're not able to like really focus on the task. And so just to avoid it if you can, and then to take care of yourself. If you really need to take a break or something, go to the restroom, you can go and come back, okay? All right, so to be fully present also is to, have your phone like not as a distraction. And some people don't even know about the do not disturb option, but that little moon is there for you. And then to only have these tabs open, you only need the Zoom, the Pear Deck, and the student workbook. And sometimes people are like, but there's two screens that look exactly the same. How do you position this? So what you'll do is you put the Pear Deck on the left and the student workbook on the right. So a Zoom window is not the priority because it's more like for me to show examples. So I'll let you know once you look at the Zoom window, but you don't really need to look at it. It's mostly on the Pear Deck, okay? All right, so here are our goals for today. We're gonna try to cover a lot in 1 hour. And so, or maybe even less than an hour. And so what we're gonna go over is to understand the purpose and the importance of the personal statement. How does it kind of like affect your college application? And we're going to learn what makes an outstanding college essay. We're going to actually do a lot of brainstorming today because what happens is oftentimes people don't know really what to write about. Some people may think that they don't have a lot to write about, or that like they have so much to write about and they don't know how to narrow it down. So we're going to build a bank of topics and ideas. And that's why the workbook is so important, because this is something you can take away with you today. Okay, because we're going to do the exercises live. And then we're going to learn 2 ways to structure your essay. For us at College Essay Guide, we found that these structures have been very, very successful. And we're going to preview a sample essay, then give you some next steps and reflections, okay? And we'll do a Q&A at the end. All right, so just to tell you a little bit more about myself, I am the oldest in my family. Some of you are the oldest as well, or only child, and you know how hard it is, because even though my parents went to college or some college, they didn't, by the time it was my turn, they did not know how to help me, right? And so they were very, very lost with the college admissions process. And there were so many things I learned when I was older where I was like, I wish I knew these things. So my kind of goal, one of my goals in life has become to demystify the college application process for students and parents. And so I want to provide the help that I didn't get. So as of this last year, I have been teaching high school English for juniors at my old high school in Southern California. And I was also an AVID teacher for seniors. And I love this college essay work so much. And I've known Ethan Sawyer, the college essay guy, from even before I started teaching. I actually came on to be his new director of workshops. So it's kind of weird to say I'm a former high school teacher because I've been teaching for so long. I taught all throughout the pandemic, you guys. So I know how difficult it was to learn online, but also to teach online. And here I am online with you, and I love it. So I love being able to really help students discover their story. And ultimately, that's what we're doing. We're not just checking off a box to do something because we have to. It's to actually really discover ourselves. I really love that. So what is the purpose of the college essay? The purpose of it is not to give them a writing sample, right? It's not to show how good of a writer you are. What you are ultimately saying is that you're going to make an awesome college student, so that when you go to college, that you're not going to just get in, but you're going to thrive there. And then once you graduate, that they're going to be proud to have had you as a student. But how do you prove this in your essay, right? So you want to demonstrate the skills, qualities, interests, and values you'll bring to a college. So you're not trying to, the purpose is not to get them to feel sorry for you or anything like that. So this is how I try to explain. I use a lot of analogies. So one thing is the college application itself is basically just numbers like your GPA, test scores, like the AP tests and stuff, and your activities. Some of you may even have the same exact name as somebody else. I'm sure even at your school, you may have the same name as someone in your grade. So when college admissions people look at an application and they're only looking at the numbers and the words on there, it's almost like looking at x-rays. It's just the skeleton of your application, right? So it's almost like when you're looking at x-rays, skeletons all look the same. It's just bones, right? But the essay brings that application to life. It gives you flesh, it gives like a soul to your application. And so that's why this part is so important, because ultimately you don't want to look like just another x-ray, right? You want like kind of like an image of that person to come out of that application. So I'm going to tell you, if you know how to screenshot, I would say this is a good slide to screenshot right here, is the 4 traits of an outstanding personal statement, okay? So the first thing is that it's vulnerable. And here's the part that some people already start to resist a little bit, because people feel like, oh, so they're just like forcing me to like tell secrets or like the worst parts of my life. Absolutely not. That's actually not what vulnerability is in this case. And nobody's forcing for you to do this. And so we're actually going to have a discussion about vulnerability and why it's important. But ultimately, vulnerability means that it's personal, okay? Number 2 is the so what. It contains insight, that it's like showing like your analysis of yourself, like that mature outlook of life, okay? And here's the thing. Oftentimes students think that when they're writing to this imaginary college admissions person, trying to get them to understand them. But actually what's happening is this: you are not writing in order to be understood. You're writing in order to understand yourself. Because like I mentioned, some of you are still struggling with who you are, right? And so this is going to be a process of you figuring out who you are, or analyzing what you've learned from certain things that have happened in your life. And so that's why this application process, especially the essays, takes so long. My students that I work with, actually, it takes them months. Like when I was teaching AVID with my seniors, I mean, they were like first gen students and all that. We worked for months with multiple drafts on making these awesome, and they've gotten into amazing schools, because this is the opportunity to let them know and explain your story, okay? So number 3, it shows your values. It shows what drives you, right? And then, so that makes you more human. It also is written well, right? There's craft and there's a sense of voice. So we'll talk about that as well. All right, so I want to know, what does vulnerability mean in your own words? Okay, what does vulnerability mean? Because even animals can be vulnerable, right? So what does vulnerability mean? So go ahead and answer in your Pear Deck. I'm just going to take a look at your answers. You don't have to press enter or anything. It automatically starts to show your answers to me. And even if you're just guessing, try. You don't have to write in complete sentences, that's fine. But what does vulnerability mean? Okay. Awesome answers so far, wonderful. I have about 17 out of 28 people responding. I would love for everyone to be involved. And we actually have a lot of participants. Some of these may be parents too, so you don't have to necessarily be in the Pear Deck. But we have about 45 people in the room. That's great. Awesome. So I'm just going to select a few of these and show the answers, but your names will not be shown. So this is completely anonymous, okay? Oh, they're so different. Awesome, awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna lock the screen in about 5 seconds. Okay, awesome. I'm gonna lock the screen in 3, 2, 1. And take a look at the Zoom window here. So here are some of the things that people have said. So if I didn't choose yours, it doesn't mean it was bad, okay? These are just like the first couple ones that I saw that stood out. So being authentic with myself by wholeheartedly feeling feelings. Yeah, definitely. Because oftentimes a lot of people don't like to feel feelings, right? I know a lot of students, I still remember where they would like put on headphones as soon as like class was over, right? Because they didn't want to think about anything else. Even if the song didn't finish by the time they got to their next class, they just wanted to like numb the thoughts, right? Vulnerability means to be completely and utterly yourself, even who you are when no one is watching. And you know what? This tends to be very, very scary especially for people living during this time, because society right now, with social media being the way it is, they do not value vulnerability. It's like a filtered generation, literally a filtered generation, right? Where pictures are filtered, what goes out as content is filtered. And so to show your raw self is very scary, because you could be like criticized, cyberbullied or whatever, or canceled, right? And so a lot of people don't want to show who they are, because oftentimes people are so afraid that if they show who they really are, that people will not love them, right? They won't want to accept that person, right? So that's what's very vulnerable about that, right? So it means to display some sort of weakness, exposing oneself to the possibility of being harmed, whether it's physically or emotionally. Absolutely. So this is kind of like what I was mentioning about animals, right? So animals can show a form of weakness. So for example, I have these two cats that I love so much. And one of the things that they do is they actually turn on their back and they show me their stomach. So if you have a pet and they do that, it's actually a sign of vulnerability and a sign of trust. Because in the animal kingdom, animals do not show each other their stomachs, because when they attack each other, they actually go for the stomach, because they, just like bleed faster or whatnot. So when they flip on their stomach, on their back and show you their stomach, it's a sign of trust. So when you're showing vulnerability, it's a sign of trust to that person, right? And so while it's displaying a form of weakness, being vulnerable is actually very, very brave. It's something that a lot of people have a hard time doing, because it means showing a true side of yourself, right? Showing a different side of you to people, even if you aren't the most comfortable, right? So when you're uncomfortable, you're probably doing it right. And a lot of my students have talked about, fake friends and stuff like that. It's often because they're not being vulnerable with one another. They're not being real, right? It's exposing yourself to the others at the risk of them not accepting you, right? And that's why it's scary. And literally, it's at the risk of a college not accepting you, right? But here's the thing. In life, people try so hard to fit in or belong, right? The thing is, there's a difference between fitting and belonging. Fitting in is when you try to basically change who you are to be like the people around you so that they'll accept you, right? The way you talk, the way you dress, things you like. You may not really like those things or like to do those things, but you do it so that you'll be accepted. Belonging is allowing yourself to be yourself and people accepting you for that anyway, right? Fitting in is so exhausting. And for college, you're not trying to fit in, you're trying to belong. You're trying to just show them who you are and them accepting you for that anyway. So don't try to tell them what you think they want you to hear, because it may not be it, right? The quality or state of being exposed to the possibility of being, I think people may have Googled this because it's the same definition. It's fine. It means to allow yourself to tell your story. Yeah, to take pride in your story. In other words, not feel ashamed. It might be scary. It might feel ashamed in the beginning, but yeah, definitely. Open enough to taking that risk of being hurt in order to develop a stronger relationship. Absolutely. Showing a part of you that you don't normally show to others. Yes, definitely. Those are all very vulnerable. So why is vulnerability necessary, right? So this is the reason why. You are writing to a stranger that you're never going to meet, right? And the only way to build connection is vulnerability with people, right? Brene Brown she calls herself a shame expert, and she talks about vulnerability. She researches vulnerability, and literally she has a Netflix special on this, okay? And she says that vulnerability is the only bridge to build connection. If that person wants to feel connected to you, the vulnerability aspect is important. Again, it doesn't mean sharing your deepest, darkest secrets or things that have been going on in your family. It's just sharing things that might be kind of even dorky, right? And so I'm going to actually demonstrate for you how to do this, okay? And so in your workbook on page 1, which is technically page 2 also, there's an exercise here called I Love, I Know. And I am somebody who practices what I preach. I'm not going to just ask you to be vulnerable. I'm going to actually demonstrate all these exercises for you And then I'm going to give you time to work on it, okay? So I'm only going to give myself 1 minute because I only need to say it. I don't have to type it. And then I'm going to give you 3 minutes to do both, okay? This is going to go kind of fast. So I'm just giving you a taste of these exercises to get you started so that later on, you'll know how to like add more to it. And if you're, and don't say like, oh, I'll just do this later, because honestly, you're probably not going to do it later. So at least get it started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate it for you first, and then I'll give you time to do it. And then the Pear Deck is locked right now because you're going to write it in your workbook that you made a copy of, and then you're going to put 2 of them into the Pear Deck, okay? So I'm going to do I love first, and then I'll do I know, and I'm going to try to be vulnerable and not say things I say in other workshops, okay? Here we go. So I love carbonated water so much, and Waterloo is like my favorite. I love writing in my planner. I love managing my budget. I love Disney. I love Marvel. I love spending time with my husband. I love that I'm going to see my family this weekend for Father's Day. I love that I have such a supportive brother in everything I do. I love that I had a solid group of girlfriends during the pandemic. I love that I get to do this with you today. I love Tom Hiddleston and the new show Loki that he's in. I love musicals. I love to sing. I love that I get to sing at church. I love checklists and checking them off. I love, okay, so that's time. Okay, so that's I love, okay? So I'm gonna demonstrate I know. So this one's gonna be a little bit different. This is like things that you're an expert in, okay? So I know a lot about grammar. I know a lot about semicolons. I know what it's like to quickly get out of debt. I know what it's like to teach online and cry after class. I know what it's like to have anxiety, and what it's like to have people misunderstand me and prejudge me. I know what it's like to face racial discrimination. I know what it's like to lose somebody. I know what it's like to be heartbroken and it feels like physical pain. I know what it's like to like cry in your pillow. And I know a lot about podcasts. Okay, so that's 1 minute for me. Okay, so what you're going to do again in your workbook, and the workbook link should be in the chat, and just make a copy of it on page 2. I want you to write as many as you can of I love and I know, and you can like interchange them if you want. And I'm going to give you 3 minutes to do this. Okay, I know it's not a lot of time, but just bullet point or just list as many as you can. This is not just for fun. I'm going to show you how this actually becomes helpful for your essays later. Okay, all right, go ahead and begin. 3 minutes, and about 1 minute in, 2 minutes in, I'm going to open up the Pear Deck. Okay, go ahead and start. So try to go beyond like your favorite brands and stuff, you know? What are things that you truly love and you know a lot about? Okay, we have about 1 more minute. So I'm going to unlock the screen. And when I unlock the screens, I want you to write just 2 of the things that you love or you know, or you could do 2 of each if you want, into the Pear Deck, okay? And so if you're done, you still have a minute if you're not done yet. Awesome answers. Okay, time is up for the 3 minutes. So go ahead and write a couple things that you love and you know. You can copy and paste it as well if you'd like. Beautiful. Okay, awesome. All right, I am going to lock the screen soon. In 3, 2, 1. Okay, here we go. I'm sorry if you're still typing, but we have to actually get to the rest of this. So, all right. So some people said, I love traveling, reading, how to manage my time well, and how to thrive in online school. Yeah. And so some of the things I told you guys, I'm kind of embarrassed by, there's like vulnerable stuff like, managing money or like checklists and things like that. I love going into cold basement, taking a nap after work. That sounds so great. And I know I'm not doing that now because I'm doing the seminars. I just want to acknowledge, thank you for being here, especially after work. That can be a lot. Yeah. I love my family. I love learning. I know how to learn new things and I know how to keep hope. I really like that one. I love to sleep. I know a lot about music. I love to eat durian. I know a lot about depression. Yes. City lights at night and whitewater rafting. I know what it's like to be harassed for my race. Yes, thank you for your vulnerability there. I love spending time with my dog and unwinding that way. I know what it's like to lose someone you love. Yeah. The feeling before going on vacation. I love that specificity there. I love watching a good sunset. I know a lot about making my mom mad. Yeah. And a lot about being indecisive. I love cats and Disney too, so much. Animation and history, that's so cool. I know I'm gonna be the first in my family to graduate. That's awesome. I know how it feels to navigate feeling okay in your body. And I love laughing with my sister. Beautiful. Those are great specific answers. And I already feel actually connected to some of you, even though I can't see your face or anything like that, right? It's like there's like this human connection because there's a sense of empathy there, right? So this next one is called If You Really Knew Me. Okay, I'm gonna go through this one pretty quick because we are actually already halfway done. So this one is like next level vulnerability, okay? The other one was kind of just a taste. This one is really getting into like the deeper aspects. And the reason why I do this one is because I want us to see that even in our situations of life that we are not alone, okay? So this is not just asking you to tell me things that I should know about you, like the basic traits. this is basically saying what people would know if they really knew you, like the depth of like what you feel and stuff like that. So again, this one's a little bit more brave, and I'm going to start. Okay, so I'm going to do 90 seconds. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to work on it. You can feel free to start on yours if you want to. If you want to watch mine first, you can do that. All right. If you really knew me, you would know that I still get nervous when I'm about to do this exercise with each workshop because yeah, it's been harder online, you know, to really like, because like today I can't see anybody, which is not a bad thing, but if you really knew me, you would know that I still struggle with a lot of insecurities. Because if you really knew me, you would know that during the pandemic, I lost 50 pounds. And if you really knew me, it's kind of uncomfortable when people comment on it so much or treat me better than before. If you really knew me, you would know that it makes me still insecure, actually. If you really knew me, you would know that like I'm still dealing with the fact that I just told you that, right? If you really knew me, you would know that that I am still really sad that I left my school, but really happy at the same time. If you really knew me, you would know that that I don't know. I think I'm still struggling a little bit with California opening up. I'm excited, but kind of torn with that. If you really knew me, you would know. I'm glad it's my last 5 seconds. So it's meant to be a little bit more uncomfortable, okay? So I want you to write down in your workbook that if you really knew me, okay? So I know this part, it gets a little bit more vulnerable. So go ahead and write. You don't have to keep writing if you really knew me. Just write a bulleted list of what people would say if they really knew you, or what you would say to people if they really knew you. I know that sometimes at this point, people start to get kind of like defensive, and it's okay. Okay, but I just want you to think about, are you able to be even vulnerable with yourself, right? And that exposing certain parts of yourself, that is not necessarily a bad thing, okay? All right, so 3 minutes, go ahead and write into your Okay, at this time, I'm gonna open up the Pear Deck. If you're not done, that's okay, you still have another minute. Just write one of the things you wrote, and I challenge you to go vulnerable. Wow, so much. Beautiful. Gosh, I feel so honored, you guys, that you're being so open. Thank you so much. All right, the time is up. So go ahead and just write one of the things. Okay, awesome. I do want to be able to cover everything, and so I'm going to move on. And I really wish I could pick everybody, but I can't. I don't have enough time. So I am gonna lock the screens and show the responses. So take a look at the Zoom window right here. So if you really knew me, you would know I'm funny and I love to make childish, silly jokes. I'm not rude. I'm just shy. I have insecurities. I will sit with you all day and hear what's hurting you. That's so great. You would know I still cry in the car by myself often when I think about losing my dad, even though it's already been 3 years. Man, that really, thank you so much for sharing that. That's just so vulnerable. Thank you. If you really knew me, you would know that I struggle with liking myself, being uncomfortable in my own skin and body because of the standards society holds. Yeah, so in this part of this exercise, I want you guys to know that you're not alone, that somebody in this session, whether it's recorded or not, know what it feels like to be in your shoes. And so I have a friend who passed away this year, but he used to say all the time that we are all uniquely the same, that we go through a lot of the same circumstances in life. And, but we're all unique people, right? And so even like I have OCD, that's very vulnerable. Not other people may not, like a lot of people may not have that, but you know, some people may, and you won't be alone, right? If you really knew me, you would know that I hate change. Yeah, so the pandemic must have been really hard for you. Yeah, if you really knew me, you'd know that I'm queer. Yeah, if you really knew me, you would know that I'm not a quiet person. I'm just shy and quiet during class. Yeah, I'm under a lot of pressure, then I let on. Yes, I fear failure and the thought of being a disappointment to others. And I often cover my mistakes with humor. Yes, I struggle with perfectionism and feeling like a burden. Wow, thank you, you guys. I really, really appreciate your vulnerability. And I just feel like the space that you're in, because I feel like a lot of you guys must feel this too, where it's like this interesting space where you feel like you are getting to know people, even though there's no one else here, right? And so this is kind of like the space that you want to be in when you're writing your essays. And so this next exercise, we're actually not going to do this together for the sake of time, but this is the part that makes you unique. When I say uniquely the same, because let's say some people struggle with perfectionism. Well, not everyone experiences that the exact same way, because everyone had their own unique childhood or their own unique life experiences. So for this exercise, I'm just going to tell you what it is, and then I want you to do this on your own later. But this is basically the essence objects exercise. I want you to think about, like, there's a box, imaginary box, and you're taking different objects in your life, and they're different symbols that represent an important relationship or quality in your life, okay? And so these are my essence objects, and nobody can say these are my exact essence objects. Even my brother and sister cannot say these were the same objects. Even if they pick the same objects, it won't be exactly the same because I'm older than they are. You know, it was a different time in my life or their life that these things happened. And so I just want to show you, like, for example, that you might actually see trends in some of the objects. For example, naked Christmas tree, newspaper deliveries, night cream labels, secret door knocks, all of those actually represent a time in my life where my family struggled a lot financially, like a lot. And so it's like, whoa, I didn't realize that there were so many objects that represented that time in my life. or like different things that I really cherished are also in here, right? And so it's really, really great. There's even like a YouTube video of Ethan walking you through the essence objects exercise. So that box is available in your workbook. So please do this one on your own, okay? Because you can actually put those into your essays. Okay, so this one's very important. So we're gonna do this one together. This is the values exercise, okay? And so basically what you're gonna do here is, this is on page 3. I'm gonna only give you 90 seconds. What I want you to do is, looking at this list, and I'm so sorry to the person that's very indecisive, you're gonna pick 10, okay? You're gonna highlight and bold your top 10 values, okay? So, because somewhere in your essay, you have to actually write these values, or not write the values, but show these values. So 90 seconds, go through and bold your top 10 right now. Okay, so go ahead and begin. It's rushed on purpose so that you go with your gut. Don't think too hard. Seconds. About 30 more seconds. Narrow it down to 10. And you could write your own too if you want, if it's not on the list. What are things you value in life? This is one of the qualities that make a great essay. Okay, so now what I want you to do is I want you to underline your top 5. I'm only gonna give you 30 seconds. Underline out of the bolded ones, your top 5, please. This is where it gets harder for people. Underline your top 5. Now I want you to italicize your top 3. Okay, italicize your top 3, please. If you don't pick one of them, doesn't mean you don't value it. I know it's hard. Some people have a really hard time with this one. Okay, and then lastly, what I want you to do is I want you to put an asterisk next to your number 1 value. Okay. So I want you to hold on to that, okay? Because this is going to be something that like is going to show up throughout your essay. And so I'm going to skip over now to structuring, okay? So there are 2 ways to tell your story. So our experience has been that the best way to tell stories is actually adopted using like techniques of a screenwriter, someone who writes movies, right? And there's 2 techniques that are used to tell stories in movies. The first one is a narrative, where it goes from like one moment to the next. There's like a conflict and then there's like a resolution, right? Or a montage. A montage is when it's like scenes jump around in time, and then it actually can skip, it can actually show a lot of time in a short amount of time. And then this one is what we recommend if you're not going to write about a challenge in your life. For narrative, it is for writing your challenge. So narrative structure is basically like, there's like a status quo, right? So I'm going to use Finding Nemo. If you didn't see it, I'm going to spoil it for you, okay? So status quo in the beginning, not the beginning, but in the beginning, Nemo is trying to go to school and he has a really overprotective dad. Then something happens, there's an inciting incident, right? Where Nemo wants to go and touch a boat, but his dad doesn't want him to, and he goes and does it, and he gets captured, right? Then there's raising of the stakes. All these bad things happen, right? They run into sharks and jellyfish and all that stuff. Then there's a moment of truth, okay? And this is something that you want in your essays too. It's like, basically there's a moment where Dory gets caught in a net. And then Nemo says, I know how to help her. And Marlin says, no, you can't help her. And he says, no, I have to. You need to let me go. And at that moment, Marlin realizes, I have to let my son go. So he basically lets him go. They just keep swimming down, and then they're released. And there's a new status quo. At the end of the movie, Nemo's going to school again, but this time Marlin's not as overprotective, right? So using that, I'm going to introduce you to the best exercise if you're going to write about a challenge in your life, okay? So basically, this is what we call the feelings and needs exercise. This is in your workbook. And so what you're going to do is you're going to write about, so you're going to think of what the challenge is first, okay, or challenges. Then you're going to write the effects of the challenge. So this effects part is really, really important because this is what differentiates your experience compared to other people. So say, for example, if a challenge was like parents getting divorced, for effects, a lot of people have similar effects, like having to go from house to house, right? Splitting time and stuff like that. But something more specific would be like maybe how your relationship with your dad changed or with your mom changed, or that you had to get a job or different things like that, specific things, okay? Feelings, a lot of people struggle with feelings, right? They like, if people say like, oh, how are you feeling? Like, I feel good, but good is not really a feeling, right? So in your workbook, we've provided a list of feelings. So literally look at these because it's very, very specific and it'll help you like express how you're feeling a little bit more. And then the needs. So these are kind of the areas that you're being vulnerable, right? But number 5 is the most important section because this is like, what did you do to improve your situation? If you haven't done anything to improve your situation, then you probably shouldn't write about it. So something another analogy I use to describe this is the difference between wounds and scars, right? And so a wound is like, you know, an abrasion that you get is not healed yet, right? A scar is a wound that's healed. And we recommend that you don't write about wounds, but that you write about scars because they've healed already. If you haven't done that much about it, then this just becomes a sad story and it doesn't show colleges that you've matured and learned, okay? Then lastly is what you learned. So I'm gonna show you a quick example. I'm not gonna read this in detail because we're running out of time, but basically this essay and this essay example is in your workbook. It uses that exercise because this is the beauty of this exercise, you guys. If you fill this out very, very well, if you flip it up, it's literally an outline for your essay. It's like magic, okay? And so this student basically, it says here, at 6 years old, I stood locked away in the restroom. I held tightly to a tube of toothpaste because I'd just been sent to brush my teeth to distract me from the commotion. His dad was basically being put under arrest for hitting his mom, okay? So that was the initial commotion, initial challenge, okay? The tube of toothpaste was one of his essence objects, okay? So that's why you can actually imagine what's happening immediately, right? Then some of his other challenges, money was tight, mom had to work 2 jobs, right? And then his dad, he had a new stepdad, but he was alcoholic, right? Then he had a new brother being born, and then it's complicated things. They were undocumented, they had no family around them, and then they were fearing deportation. They dealt with financial and medical issues. And then so the effects was he wasn't able to go on certain school trips. He was discouraged to meet new people. He literally said, I felt isolated, disillusioned. My grades started to slip. Those are other effects too. But then this is what he did about it. It's very strong. He doesn't stay in the challenges too long. He learned how to ride a bike. He did what a father figure was supposed to teach him. He became his own teacher. He got a job. He became resourceful. Not only that, at school, he got straight A's. He brought his grades up. He became this athlete, played multiple instruments. He not only passed AP Physics 1, he pioneered the AP Physics 2 class at his school. He became president of CSF. He's like tutoring and doing so many things, right? A captain of water polo team. He's done so many, literally, I've done tons and I can say that I'm proud of that, right? In the midst of all those issues. He says here, but there's so much so much more I need to do, right? And I'll do as much as I can from now on, not because I have to, but because I choose to, because in the beginning, it was everything he had to do it, right? So really fast, I'm gonna go over Montage. This one is very, very cool. Even if you've gone through a challenge, this is a really good one, especially if you're applying to top universities, because this one is actually a little bit harder to do. So in Up, there's that scene that shows this relationship of this beautiful couple very, very quickly, right? Just different scenes. And then the whole thread of it is basically that they're trying to go on this adventure together, right? A lot of romantic comedies do this too, where within like 1 minute, they'll show like 2 years of like their relationship developing, right? So in filmmaking, they've used this to condense space and time to deliver more information. And so the purpose of it is to show all these different sides of yourself, okay? And so, but it's going to be using a focusing theme. And so what you're going to do is basically, the analogy for this too is like a beaded bracelet. Each bead is like a different component of your life and different values that you hold. There's a theme that connects it all, okay? So, for example, this one's called the laptop essay, okay? So this girl has a laptop full of stickers all over it. So she uses each sticker to represent a certain part of herself and certain values, okay? And the insights of this one and everything is so good. So like this one, we love design. It's not just because it's art. It actually shows that design means more to me than just branding and marketing, right? It gives me an opportunity to experiment, right? So much great insight there. Here, poop emoji, middle right? It's actually about her relationship with her brother, right? And how we're each other's best friends, or at least he's mine, right? Shows a little bit of vulnerability, kind of self-deprecating a little. Harry Styles, right? But this one actually doesn't have to do with just Harry Styles. She says that she likes Harry Styles because he's an artist activist. So it shows her activism side, her public activism, right? This one is like a sticker of her startup company that she made. Thank God It's Monday. It shows her work ethic. And there's a bunch of other ones. I know I'm going through this very fast, but we're running out of time. And I really want to get through all of it, but it's all in your workbook, okay? So this is the outline that will help you with that. And I want to get to a resource, because I know I'm going fast, that's going to help you even after this is over, okay? And so I want you to click here, you guys. If you click here, you are going to, because you signed up for this workshop, you're going to be able to register for college essay guide resources. If you're asked to pay, you have the wrong link, okay? But so on your Pear Deck, do not click on the Zoom link, okay? So on your Pear Deck, I want you to click on it. And then what's going to happen is it's going to open, you're going to be able to get access to the Choose Your Own Adventure tool, okay? And so, let me see here. Actually, that's a really good question. Did the author write the example narrative to actual university with a sample for this program? It was to an actual university. He got into Stanford and he just graduated like this week. So it's just amazing, right? He used it, like it was a technique that we offered. He used it and he got in, you know? So, and I've worked with many students that use it and they get into the schools. I mean, it's not like that's the only reason why they got in, but yeah. And so this tool is awesome because it's going to help you actually, like, let's say you're like, you know what, I'm interested in the Montage path. Let's do some brainstorming. Look at here. You've already done the I Love, I Know. You will do essence objects, and there's all these other ones, right? So let's do skill or superpower. If you click on that, you might not be able to click on it just yet, but take a look at the Zoom window here. There will be a video where like Ethan and me actually go over it with you, right? Then there's sample essays, right? All these different ones that people have chosen to use, the sample essays here. And, you know, it actually goes through the 4 qualities that this essay demonstrates, right? All this stuff. There's so much great information in here. And then let's say you're like, well, now I don't know how to outline. Well, you go here, right? And it'll walk you through how to outline it, right? Yeah, outlining whichever one you're doing, right? Whether it's the home one or whatnot. Then writing your first draft, getting feedback on your first draft. How do you do that? How do you revise, right? So we designed this tool for students so that after workshops, they'll still be able to get help, okay? And so It's like almost like flipped classroom in a way. So you have access to these actually in your workbook, because some people might be in the recording being like, how do I get this? It is on page 11, okay? So it's like an orange link and a blue link. Click here to register, and the links are there, okay? I'm not gonna leave you high and dry. All right, so next step, outline. Please outline first. It'll actually be faster in writing your draft. And then I really want to know, and I know this is so fast, I wish I had more time with you guys, but what were your biggest takeaways from today's workshop? Like, what was helpful for you? And this is like actually a good way to kind of check in with yourself too. All right, so this is actually our last slide. I know that there's like 50 something slides. There aren't really. They're like extra things. Okay. I would love some feedback. I have about 9 out of 31 people. I know I went really fast, but I promise you, I actually made all these slides and the workbook, and I'm telling you, the workbook is going to help you so much. And so take advantage of these. Okay. Awesome. Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad you don't feel like it's as daunting. Yeah, it's not as daunting. And something I really hope that you guys got out of this too is that the essay is supposed to sound kind of natural speaking. It's not supposed to sound like a school essay at all. Okay. Oh, I'm so glad that this really helped a lot of you guys. Oh, thank you so much for having me, you guys. It was such an honor. And again, I feel so touched. If you really knew me, you would know that I feel so honored with your vulnerability today. And I also know that some of you have deep things that you wanted to say, but maybe you didn't just yet. So I just want to acknowledge that and just thank you so much for having me. I want to respect your time. And yeah, thank you so much for having me. All right. Have a great rest of your sessions. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.